I have been thinking, well, I'm going to be thinking a long time about Geshe Dado's teachings the past few days. And I've been going over them, sort of fixing my typos and trying to make sure that I got the notes as clearly as I could. And there's a place that I've gone back to that he taught about, and Venerable's taught about it over and over again. I've read it over and over again. And this time it went in a little bit more deeply. And I actually decided to play with it a little bit this week. So Geshe got into talking about the wisdoms of hearing, thinking, and meditating. I mean, how many times have we heard this? How many times have I heard this? And what he said is that for hearing or study, he said is to hear as many teachings as you can by as many teachers as you can with as many friends as you can. So really to submerge yourself. The second one is to reflect or to think, which is to try to bring it into a personal experience to a point where you might get these aha moments where things are starting to go from here into here. And then meditation, where not just intellectually, but he said closing the gap between intellect and experience to the point where there is no space between what you understand and what you feel. So, and then he was doing this within the context of, don't just, and this is, I talk to myself a lot about this, is when I hear teachings on emptiness, I'm willing to hear them, I'm willing to look over the notes and think about them. But then I go out into my life here at the Abbey and I just totally forget about using it. How to look at emptiness, how to look at dependent arising when I'm in relationship to the community, when I'm offering service, when I'm practicing. So this week I decided to take a little bit of this emptiness teaching, especially about going and looking for Semke, going to see if I can find her under analysis, or to just say, who is this Semke? So I had an opportunity this week because I spent about 2.5 hours in a dental chair. And if you want to know how to see the object of negation, you sit in a dental chair for about 2.5 hours. And it was so, because I went there with such an intention. I said, I'm going to have this experience because this is not one of my favorite experiences in life. And there is definitely an object of negation when I get into that chair. And they buckle me up into the big napkin and they put the big lights and the sunglasses on. I can just feel myself getting solid and more and more and more solid and concrete. So this week I decided I was going to try to play with this and do a little bit of 4-point analysis as I'm sitting in the chair. There's nothing else better to do. I'm kind of a captured audience anyway. So the first experience for me is that, when you're there and we have this wonderful dentist. He's just so amazing. But, the first thing they do, they want to put some sort of Novocaine in there because they're going to be doing a lot of drilling. And, I try to go to the sensations. I try to go with, what are you feeling? Pleasant, unpleasant, as it's going in, kind of pinching, kind of pressure. It's just a sensation. Where is that sensation and how is it changing? And, my heart's palpitating a little bit. My hands are a little bit tight. And I said, okay, Semke, this is going to be a long trip here if this is the way you're going to be. So over the course of those 2 hours, every time I got tight in the body, I said, if Semke is the body, where is she? And so I would go into, first of all, he had a microscope, and when I looked in the lens of the microscope, you could see the tooth that he was working on. And I said, is Semke in that tooth? Is she in the beating of her heart? Is she in the clamminess of her hands? Is she in the sensations of the body as the drill is vibrating and the saliva and all the sounds? I was trying to loosen up my grasp that I really believed that Semke was the body was a huge part of this self that was sitting in the chair. And I did this pretty consistently over the course of those 2 hours. The second thing that I try to do is that as this whole body sensation is going on, I'm trying to look for myself in the body. There's all these thoughts percolating. I'm judging the experience. Oh, it's going to hurt. Oh, it's taking too long. Oh, my jaw hurts. Oh, I'm going to gag on the saliva. I mean, I was just having all these crazy thoughts. And I'm like, okay, So far, the body, it's been hard to track Semke down at a particular part of the body. Maybe she's in the mind, because these thoughts that I'm having right now are facilitating some anxiety, some worry. I said, you go and see if you can find Semke in that fear. Go and find her in those thoughts that are trying to anticipate what Dr. Ben's going to do next. And it was the most fascinating experience, because as I started to break down these pieces, I could feel my body start to relax. You know, as Geshe-la said yesterday, it's not that we have to drop everything, but we've got to loosen our grasp on it. And during the course of those 2 hours, by continually going back to the sensation, going back to the parts of the body that I noticed, and to go back to the commentary that I was playing in my mind to try to find out where was this Semke that was having this experience. By the time the 2 hours were over, I was half asleep. My breathing was down to a very quiet inhalation and exhalation. I lost total track of the time. And it was like an experience. I mean, it's not that Semke disappeared, that I was in some profound state, but I had loosened my grip on my self-identification with who was sitting in that chair. And then, as it got to be toward the end of it, and Dr. Ben realized he had found this canal he had been looking for 2 hours, I then turned my attention on the kindness of what was happening at that very moment. There were 3 people in the place there. I went from Dr. Ben thinking about all the years and all the kindnesses that he has not only shown to me, but every member of this Sangha. What he had to go through to learn and to have the expertise that he had, the kind of study, the kind of determination, who he is, how he lives, just trying to conjure up this person. And then I did the same thing for Claire, and I did the same thing for Janice. And then I started looking at all the parts in this place with all the technology and how this is a whole dependent arising that makes this office what it is, to makes this dental clinic have the capacity to serve the people that it does. And so as I sort of finished up that 2.5 hours, I had like tears in my eyes, because I suddenly said, this is a totally different relationship to what's happening to Semke. This conventional Semke is the incredible kindness, that she's not as solid and as concrete as she tends to think that she is if she gives herself the time to go and find her. Not an ultimate analysis. I didn't get into anywhere deep, but I sure loosened up my grasp on who was sitting in that chair. And it gave me a kind of confidence that said, when I get into situations, and this is where the curiosity, rather than being intimidated by using some sort of analysis to go looking for this person that I think exists, to bring a kind of curiosity to it. And as a result, I was able to really, it was just quite an inspiring experience, that I don't have to go into some deep intellectual gymnastics about emptiness. I can just go and say, where is she? And go find her. And if you find her, then she must exist as you perceive her. And after 2.5 hours, it was a lot harder to find Semke than when she first sat in that chair. So I've been very inspired to kind of use these teachings that we're getting, rather than just putting them in my laptop and closing it and saying, okay, till next week, is to start using it daily to look at the food that I eat, the people that I engage with, the tree that I just cut down. I mean, where's the tree? I'm going to go look for that tree this afternoon to see if it exists where I think it exists, and to really bring it into part of my life, to be more comfortable with how to see things as they really are. And what Geshe-la says here at the end is that he says that we put these teachings into daily life, taking specific steps, knowing where you are going, navigating the way as you go with care, to test the practice as you go through your life, building one's confidence to the point that no matter what comes up, I have the tools to deal with it all. And I think after yesterday, I really have found that it's helpful for me to bring these teachings into my life And it really helps me to change my perspective about how I think things exist. It's a small piece, but it was a shift yesterday that I have to really say I appreciate Geshe-la's teachings and Venerable's teachings for the past 19 years of my practice on hearing, thinking, and meditating on the teachings.